So what exactly is a data engineer? Now there's, of course, different subsets and specialties as part of this. So for example, a data engineer could also be a machine learning engineer as well, an AI engineer. The terminology is a little bit still overlapping, but also the roles. Also too, architect is another. So just don't think, for example, that it's only one role only. I've seen probably 30 different roles around data science, and about half of them are the same thing. It just depends on the company and what they want to call it. So a machine learning engineer, for example, will be basically someone that is going to build, implement, and maintain learning systems basically in a technology product. That could be like TensorFlow, for example. They focus on system reliability, performance, and scalability. So for example, this is a career path. Now, why would someone go down this way, right? Well, it could be that you're a really good programmer and you like to learn algorithms. You like to understand how things actually sort of start and how they could finish. Not just how they would start and finish, but could finish if this happened or if this happened. So what are the top skills? Well, generally the top skills are going to be cloud, Python, big data, TensorFlow, and learning models. And I would throw in some others as well, like statistical modeling. I would also throw in there data visualization. Again, those are the main ones that typically come up in job descriptions over and over. And when it comes to a data engineer, again, sort of redundant, but a data engineer is another term, but it's a little bit different. So for example, instead of like a machine learning engineer or an ML engineer or an ML architect, we have what's called just a plain data engineer. And this is really sort of more, it's a little bit more broad. So for example, a data engineer will build basically the architecture from start to finish. For example, if you're building a mobile app, that's going to entail basically everything from the user interface on how the user interacts to how that data is processed and collected and archived. Hello? Okay, I thought I heard something there. Okay, so just be aware, again, there's a data lifecycle. So the data engineer is a little bit more broader term, and it includes basically software engineering skills as part of this. So like if you're in machine learning or AI, that's more a niche area, whereas a data engineer is somewhat more broad. Now, there's going to be some overlap. So whether you become a data science expert or data engineer or machine learning engineer, there's some commonalities you have to learn. Now, Python and R, these are going to come up over and over and over. However, with data engineer, it's also more about other services as well, databases, data warehouses. So those are the top skills. A data analyst. So what is a data analyst? A data analyst is going to be someone, now this isn't as technical as like machine learning or a data engineer. This is typically what I would typically call, now an analyst is what? Typically in the world of business, a business analyst is a broad term, right? And it could be someone just collecting data and then putting out a statement about that data. That's what a data analyst really is. So you do a lot of work around Excel, Tableau, however you say that, I never said that right. And you see Python again and again, right? So if you don't get the point now, you need to be a good programmer to really do well in this area of data science. So if you go to LinkedIn now or Glassdoor or whatever you may use, you're going to see Python over and over and over. R is actually an up and coming area as well. Now, Excel is actually still used a bit. I was still a little surprised to see that, but believe it or not, I probably came up with about 300 jobs that still require Excel. A lot of companies still use Excel, whether they're a Fortune 500 company or not. So we want to be aware of that. When it comes to a data scientist, now this is a little different. A data scientist is going to be more sophisticated from an analysis perspective. And what does this mean? They're going to probably need to know a lot more than a data analyst in the sense of technical merits. Typically, the average data scientist needs to have a PhD in the Fortune 100 or 500 companies. So just be aware, this is if you want to become a true data scientist, you're going to be going to school a long, long time. Now, if you go on LinkedIn, I saw most of the companies like Facebook, LinkedIn, even Microsoft, also the financial companies like I think Chase and a couple others, they require at least a master's degree. So this is not a job you jump right into. This is a job that you need to be in the business for 10 years or so generally. Okay, now they use a lot of math. In other words, this is statistics. This is computer science. You need a technical degree to even get started in the field. And this is true throughout. So the R and Python again, right? Now regression testing is something that will come up. Data structures, algorithms, right? This is what this data science really requires. It's a pretty complex area. So I like to compare again the data scientist sort of to like the MacGyver, if you ever seen that show many years ago, where he could fix and do anything. That's the data scientist. Whereas like a business analyst or someone like that is a little bit more niche and not as, you know, widely, I guess, widely experienced or whatever in other areas. Okay, now who should opt in for a data science career? Basically, this is a career that has different roles and responsibilities. There's no really two same roles that have the same responsibilities. When we get into data science, it's really programming. It's everything from SQL to NoSQL. It's data points, metrics. Again, these are just some of the things that you need. It's really a career that you need to be constantly learning. When it comes to proficiency, generally data science careers want you to be able to take a technical problem or take data and translate it into business decisions. Or I like to call actionable insight is another way to look at it. In other words, you're working for a large company. Let's say you work for a hedge fund like Bridgewater. Now, I know Bridgewater to agree because I used to do consulting with them. About 4 or 5 years ago, they had over 80 data scientists. Okay, so that's a lot. I don't know any other company that comes close to that. Now, what I will say is, again, they get paid really well, but they have a lot of pressure. There's no question. So with that said, just be aware what this comes down to is you need to figure out ways of how to collect data, ingest data, and then solve a problem. Now, typically a data analyst has data and then they try to visualize it and figure out what to do with it after. A data scientist is more proactive and also much more detailed. So a data scientist needs to also tell a story. Lastly, you need to be extremely flexible. Machine learning, statistical modeling, and even UX experiences. And UX is user experience, basically.